we all want to influence the people around us. We all want control. That's the thing. We all want control. And you get whoever has more momentum has control. This has happened to you at some point in time in your life where you have thought to yourself, I was being positive. I was so high on the emotional scale. Then why did I get caught up in the negative influence of this other person? And the reason is because if that negative person had more momentum than you, then you're going to get caught up in that. People drown because they get caught up in the momentum of a current in the water. It's not like they want that. They go into the water enjoying themselves, having fun, but if they give in to the momentum, you see what happens is when someone has a lot of momentum, they attract attention. When something has momentum, it attracts attention. Your attention is the thing that you need to control, because if someone has a lot of momentum, it's like they have a very loud voice. Even if it's not actually coming out of their mouths, maybe it's just a vibration, but that vibration is loud and you can't help but give your attention to it. And when you give your attention to it, you get caught up in it. Because whatever you give attention to is what expands. So if you're giving your attention to it, it is coming into your life. And that's how we get caught up in negative momentum. This is how all riots are started, and people who have never ever stepped outside of the rules, you see them stepping outside the rules because they get caught up in the momentum. The same thing applies. You see it happening with laughter yoga. One person starts laughing without any reason and has so much momentum. Why? Because they're really engaged in it. They are really having fun with it. They are really thinking thoughts that make them laugh. And that vibration infects people around them. I haven't invited you to come and laugh with me, but if I'm standing in your midst and I'm laughing, you're going to give me your attention because my vibration has momentum. My vibration is louder than my laughter, and you're going to get involved in that. You're going to pay attention to it, and the next thing you know, without any reason, you are laughing as well. Same thing happens with crying, with weeping. I have been a witness to religious ceremonies, funerals, places where people gather, where one person starts to weep. And they are, even if they are not loud in their weeping, but their vibration is so loud that everyone turns around to look at them. The next thing you know, the entire funeral gathering is weeping because of momentum. It does not matter where you are when you generate momentum. If you generate momentum from here, then people will get caught up in your laughter. If you generate momentum from here, people will get caught up in your anger and riot with you. This is what happens to teachers in a classroom who lose control of the classroom, is because one child starts to misbehave, be mischievous or shout or be inappropriate with the teacher. But they do it with so much momentum that the entire classroom gets caught up in it. Even those children who are not usually like that get caught up in it. Because momentum is power of influence. Momentum is control. So you don't want to exert control from a place of anger, because when you exert control from a place of anger, when you exert control from, wait a second, I'm going to show you, that's revenge. When you exert control from those places, you are drawing people into that emotion. And if you're drawing people into that emotion, what kind of a result are you attracting towards yourself and to them? Because presumably you care about them. So many politicians, so many leaders in various situations understand the power of momentum. That is why they send a person to infiltrate a gathering and generate momentum on a specific emotion that they want to generate. Mob behavior, that's what we call it. Mob behavior, right? This is how it happens. So whoever has more momentum, maybe you live with an angry person, they have momentum of anger. You've got to stop yourself from getting caught up in it, because then you end up retaliating because of the momentum. So if you don't pay attention, your attention is the switch that gets you caught up in that. You've got to divert your attention away from it so that you don't get caught up in it. And that's how you have control. And if you generate so much positive momentum, high on the emotional scale, what will happen eventually is, if you are able to remain consistent. You see, the person who is in anger is consistent in their anger. If they blame you, they are consistent in their blame. Person with depression is consistent with blaming themselves and the rest of the world. They are doing both guilt and blame. That is why they fall into a depression. They have so much momentum that if you stay with them, you're going to start feeling miserable unless you have the ability not to pay attention. If you have the ability not to get caught up in somebody's anger, then you have control. And eventually, if you are able to generate momentum of love, sometimes we just cannot generate momentum of love. That's okay. Don't generate momentum of love. You can generate momentum of hope. You can generate momentum of satisfaction with where I am and I couldn't care less about you and your tantrums. You can do that. We can all do that. The only thing we have to do is to allow the other person, whatever. See, here's the thing. Whoever has a negative momentum and they have they are in a negative emotion and they have a lot of momentum, the first thing that they are needing is validation. Just give them the validation. It's what I was telling Ursula the other day. If your son thinks you're a bad Muslim, acknowledge it. Tell him, validate him, tell him he's right. Yes, I am not a good Muslim, and I acknowledge you are right. Because soon as you give them validation, their anger level goes down a couple of notches, and then your positive behavior can have more impact on them. Everybody who is negative, everybody who is in this place of the emotional scale needs acknowledgement for their hurt, because they are hurting internally, but we can't see them bleeding. So to us, it feels like they should not be hurt because they should know better. Why are they hurt? We don't understand that what they need is our acknowledgement that they are justified in feeling the way they are feeling. Once we give them that, they become more open to listening to us, because you've got to understand that if you're speaking to an angry person, they're not listening. Their ears are closed because the blood is throbbing in their ears. Nothing is going in at that time. But soon as you tell them that they are justified in their anger, of course you should be angry. You're absolutely right. You should be angry. I totally understand your anger. I can't do anything about it, but I understand it. I understand that you have a right to be angry. What we do is, we tell the person who is angry that they don't have a right to be angry, which makes them angrier. That's not the way to deal with them. And so, that's what our affirmation today is. Momentum gives me power of influence. If the other person has more momentum than I do, it doesn't matter if I'm positive and they're negative. They control the situation because of momentum. And momentum is the thing that results in manifestation. The person who has momentum controls manifestations. They can live in the midst of a positive colony of people, but if though that positive colony does not have momentum of positivity, They don't control things. They're ineffective. This is why our associations matter. We can change our vibration by bringing ourselves into the midst of someone who has a lot of positive momentum. This is the reason why people go to listen to motivational speakers who energize them with infect them with their positive momentum. But it doesn't last. It doesn't last because it's not you who's generating it. So you have to keep seeking out those people and attending those forums until you become a self-starter. This is why company matters. How do we find people with tremendous positive momentum? Because they also attract attention. People with huge positive momentum will attract attention. Negative momentum will also attract your attention. Positive momentum will also attract your attention. Those are the people who don't care who is listening. Those are the people who believe in what they're talking about. Those are the people who are happy, who are successful. Their success is shining and their vibration is telling you that they are high on the emotional scale. You can identify. Bob Proctor was a living example of a person who stayed high up and had so much positive momentum that everyone around him got swept up in his positive momentum, regardless of whether or not they believed in what he was teaching. They still got swept up in his positive energy. Why do you think people like Kennedy were so popular? Popular leaders have momentum. Some of them are able to inspire, and some of them are able to inspire people from a positive place, and some inspire people from a negative place. Either way, they are inspiring people's people are getting caught up in their momentum. So everybody who has momentum is attracting attention. You get to decide who gets your attention. You get to decide that. You decided to give me a piece of your attention. That is why you're here this morning. We all make a decision. That is why I don't watch the news. I do not watch the news. Why? Because the news has negative momentum. I don't want to get swept up and caught up in that negative momentum. I pick and choose who gets my attention.